Good. Hello. Morning, everyone. It's an exciting time to be alive for some of us. Maybe not all of us. Maybe just, for some of us. For some other people, it might not be exciting, and that's totally okay. For some people, it might be boring. And that's the beauty of life. You said it doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be exciting. It can be anything, and it is anything, including nothing at some point. The living and then the dying. And dying could also be good. That's the upside, is anything can be anything, is ultimately the lesson for today. I think that's the important thing. Life can be good, life can be bad, death can be bad, death can be great. Anything can be anything. Let's all say it together. Anything can be anything. Wood can be great, can be very useful, can also burn and cause fires, very bad. Fires can be good and also bad. Water, we need it. We're made up of it. Can also drown us. Anything could be anything. Good work, everybody. All right. This is Mother's Day. My mother's not appearing. This has nothing to do with anything. This is just blue. And I will also say, if you have not already, go watch the latest Hey W with Kevin the Jet Knight. Go watch it. Go like. Go comment. Go share. Of course, Twitter suppresses the YouTube link. That's what it does. Hack the algorithm, beat the algorithm. You learn things. It gets very deep about his family and racism. And I put on his glasses and it blew my mind. So really, how could you lose there? Go watch, go like, go comment, go share, go tell everyone, including Kevin, how fantastic he is. He's a young fella, Dara said, good morning, lovelies. Miss Sandy said, good morning. Happy Mother's Day to all who celebrate. Reminds me, since Miss Sandy is in the book biz, AW is coming out with a book called This Book Is All Elite. Tells the story of the first 5 years of AW. I was not interviewed at all. Nell said, good morning, all. Here before the notifications to see if it starts mid-sentence. Let me know what the verdict is. Chronic Snake says, great interview. Set and chairs were lovely. Wasn't that background beautiful? We luck out sometimes, once in every 20 episodes. Mia said, good morning, beautiful people. Mia said, happy Mother's Day to all the wonderful ones in this call. Christine said, good morning. James said, good morning. Nell said, happy Mother's Day. Mothers, do the moves. James said, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Ellie said, happy Sunday, happy Mother's Day. Jesus. Nell said, hey, it was awesome this morning. Yes, mid-sentence. What doesn't have to be beautiful this morning? Oh, because she joined mid-sentence. She doesn't know. The one thing I can't stand, says Mia, is when I'm out shopping and they say happy Mother's Day to me, they assume all women are mothers. Well, you could be. You could certainly have the gift of life. And that's what they're saluting you. I mean, were you buying fucking flowers and a balloon that says happy Mother's Day? Or were you buying like a sandwich? Clarence said, hi, RJ. Happy Mother's Day, buddy. Love what you're wearing. Thanks. Nail said, everybody dies. That's not quite the quote. Now, Sandy said it. Chronic Snake. Nail said it. Clarence said it. Anything can be anything. Guy said, water can be fire. In certain instances, that's also true. V said, I feel like I've arrived to a safety lesson. Don said, Don has used the software way of saying anything can be anything. Steven said, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers here in the chat. Ellie, not so smelly, said, I've been listening to Kevin Knight's theme quite a bit. It's a bop. Let's listen to it now, shall we? And then they can throw me off the air. Oh, this is one by Montesi. I'm familiar with this. It's called The Jet to Fly, Kevin Knight theme, official music. Let's watch the official music video. This is a good intro. You got me here. I don't know why it's happening, but I like that it's happening. And we're just stealing Street Fighter. Okay. Yeah, okay. I get it. But he's not a video game guy. His screen is filthy. This has already gone on too long, Montesi. Would you insert the corn already? Thank you. Brian Cage, Cactus Jack. We're just absconding all copyright here. Here we go. Oh! Montesi included himself. Can we get this started, please? All right, we've established that. So that was sort of a pre-video. Is Kevin rapping on it? Why didn't we talk about this? The Jet music video. It's good to tell people it's a music video. And he's enjoying it. He's putting on the glasses. Standard wrestling team trope of saying the name over and over again. Was this the song you were talking about? I don't think I've ever had this much fun. You know what I mean? Like, they're making music and they're enjoying it. I would make music I would hate. I would say everyone thinks this is awful. Money's so relatable. They both can't see shit. Always adjusting the clothes too. Kevin pretending to mix the board. They should be louder. The oboe needs to be clearer. This is, obviously you can tell by his hair, this is quite a while ago. And they have guitars on the walls, presumably what inspired Kevin to learn it. What I think bothers me is that they're recording on the other side of the studio. Just go in the booth, Montesi. They can hear all of this. You know? At the microphone would help. You're so close. You're so close to the studio, the recording part. I couldn't stand being in this lighting for more than... It looks like a tanning salon. I'd lose my mind. I'd say, please get me out of here. Division is coming for next. And that's something to think about on the drive home. And it's a... They said a jet, but that's the sound of a car. That's definitely not the sound of a jet taking off. This is almost the ending. So Kevin says nothing in the video, but his name's on it. It's his theme, but his name's on it. Like he's putting on his glasses. He's looking at Greg Valentine. All right. Here we go. All right. Good. All right. We got the gist. That was some Montesi. Every Sunday, she's open with a Montesi video. I'm so far behind. No wonder I was listening to a music video. V said, hey, EW is excellent. What a time to be an aunt, I'll say. Ellie said, also, if you can, tell your mothers that you love them. Mia said, well, I'm not getting that book, All Elite. It's not elite, as far as I'm concerned. Kendi said, I'm officially won over with Kevin Knight. New favorite added to the list. Steven said, I want glasses that make me see Greg the Hammer Valentine. Don't we all? Emmanuel said, name a favorite news radio moment. Well, my favorite episode is the Kane. The whole premise that Dave is the one who did take it and hide it to begin with, I think is fantastic. My other one is when Bill thinks he's Mark Russell and he has that piano and he's doing like political parody songs. I'm trying to think of a favorite moment. There's also anytime Bill would talk about his family, how decrepit and awful his family is. I thought that was fantastic. And when John Lovitz would do the windmill. You know, there's a good episode that came on the other day, and a young Ben Stiller's in it. I think immediately post heavyweights. So he wasn't known yet. And he ran a gym that Bill signed up for and Matthew signed up for. Mia said, no, I was not buying Mother's Day stuff. I was buying stuff for me. Mike said, how was Kevin's shirt not a topic of conversation? Jim Duggan and Scorpions on the sleeve. What the fuck was that? I mean, I wanted to stay a little more evergreen and esoteric in terms of his life and his wants and his desires. I didn't want to just say, what the fuck's up with your shirt? But I should have asked him off camera. Christine said, the kid and I met Matt Cardona last night at MLP. I asked him about Chelsea's dad on your behalf. He passed along his warmest regards in the form of his 2 middle fingers. Oh, that's fun. He's a hoot, that guy. He's a blast. Nelson Montesi is great. Red Dog said, good morning, Archer City and everyone. Happy Mother's Day to the moms in the chat and the moms of the chatters. Is anyone playing the guitar? No. And Mia said, West Side Gun is in all music videos. These people love their cameos. Christine said, I did pay technically for a photo. The video and the intro are not the same. Leave it to RJ to want more oboe on a rap track. Judas Effect said, hey, RJ, happy Mother's Day to Mama City. Massanity said, there's another Kevin Knight who runs a wrestling school in northern New Jersey. That school may be older than AEW's Kevin Knight. He's a young fella, but good head on his shoulders. Christine said she did not meet Josh Alexander last night at the MLP show. The only meet and greets were Matt, Cardona, Billy Gunn, and the Good Brothers. We met all of them. Nug was there with John Catucci, and you could have met them. You'd have to just run into them. Mia said, have you heard from Dalton Castle? I did. He called me 2 days ago, and I missed it and did not call him back. Neil said, there's something in RJ critiques rap in his underwear live. Neil said, hey, always makes me love the wrestlers more. Well, it's not designed to make you hate them. Judas said, they better pay royalties for the book when you get. They better pay royalties for the book to you when they mention all the epic adventures you went on with Renee. Mid said, Bill being addicted to terrible vending machine sandwiches. I have no idea what we're talking about at this point. Nelson, does everyone know how to like and comment on Hey every week? It really helps. Even if you just put an emoji or something or write RJ's name if you can't think of anything. Please do that every week. It does help. It's important to comment on those videos because then YouTube goes, oh, people like these videos. And then more people will see it. Mid said, that's my new favorite. Oh, my favorite news radio bit. That's what you're talking about. Bill McNeil being addicted to terrible vending machine sandwiches. There's also another one where Bill, they're all Bill related, but he gets a recliner or a massage chair. And Karen wants to use it. And he said, I'm glad you asked, Karen, because no, I always remember that one. Judas said, isn't that a table of 4 great Canadians? Matt Cardona is not Canadian. Neil said, you called Dalton back today. How dare you? On Mother's Day? That's inappropriate. Ash said, good morning, sir. Hello, friends. Mia said, Christine's one of our favorite mothers. Please show Sylvia and baby pictures and sing a song of her choice, please, and thank you. That's a lot. All right. Let's do. Here's a nice one. We're all very saluting, very patriotic. And he's ultimately the new pope. Let me see. I got to scroll back a bit. Hang in there. Stay the course. I gotta. You want them? I have to find them. This is what I was asked to do. So really, ultimately, don't blame me. Blame Mia. I'm trying to find one. When Sylvia, I have to go back quite a bit. Oh my God, this is embarrassing. I'm on camera. I have a show to do, and you sort of wedged your way. I can't find it. I don't know where it is. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna get there. And sing a song of her choice. Okay, so Christine has to make a song choice. Blue Meanie is here. He said, good morning, folks. Good morning to you. And if you want to get inside Blue Meanie's mind, as we all do, Mind of Meanie, his podcast, he's talking about football. Christine said, I saw Nug. I gave him a hug while we were buying snacks. Well, you can't get much better than that. Prisma said, new MLP champion Jay Phoenix for AEW. I'm sure he'll be. I've known him too long for him to say no. Neil said, Mia paid W. Mia paid double. She's allowed to ask a lot. Christine, do you have to pick a song? Mia said, RJ said, please. That's not what it's about. Chronic Snake said, did you ban Harley or is she too over now and left you and us behind? She's banned. She's been blackballed. It's more than banned. It's the old school kind of. Christine said, I actually shrieked at the towel picture. Neil said, the money wrath train, some gangster rap. Anyone can whistle. I'm not saying that shit. Be a human being, Christine, and pick a real song. Sam said, happy Mother's Day. Sierra said, good morning. I'm very late because I tried and failed to talk my grandmother into letting me skip Mother's Day church service today. What goes on there? Can you let me know? Is it just normal church? I mean, it is on a Sunday. Kind of obligated to go if they want to go. It's a thing they want to do. It's not only a Mother's Day service. It's that your grandmother, the mother who gave birth to your mother, wants to go. So you should feel kind of shitty about that. And I don't think she's in the wrong for saying no. Miss Andy said, how could Kevin Knight not have heard the Rick Rude rumors? Exactly. And I'm happy to bring that up. And maybe it'll stir a conversation in the locker room. Maybe Shivani or somebody will get to the bottom of it. James said, on asking Kevin Knight about previous nights, I was looking forward to hearing about the shoes from the 80s, LA Knights. It was about night. It wasn't Knights. Those are LA Knights. Takes them out of the category. Christine said, sing By the Light of the Silvery Moon. I love your version with Harley so much. By the light of the silvery moon, I want to soon to my honey I'll croon love's tune. Honeymoon, keep on shining in June. Our silvery beams will bring love's dreams. We'll be cuddling soon by the silvery moon. There, great. V said, I've never heard those rumors either. The horror. Blue Meanie said, wasn't your fridge on the left? I think No, it was not. Unless I was like, let's have it be like this, but I wouldn't be like this. I would never stand like this. Then I'd be leaning onto the camera. No. You're confusing it with the fridge from Frasier. Common mistake. People make that all the time. It's okay. Mike said, Rick Rude had to have been a shit ton of drugs to even think of that, let alone do that to his dick. Blue Meaning, have you heard the spurulous Rick Rude's rumors? I mean, the main one, I guess, is ultimately the question here. What is coming up? Next week, we have a Hey. The week after, we do not. It's Double or Nothing. We're going to be in Arizona. We're going to be in Glendale, Arizona. And my, is it beautiful this time of year. Like running Glendale in May. I said, you know what this AEW is missing? Dry heat. Detroit was nice. That theater was beautiful and creaky. And you will see it on an upcoming Hey. I won't say with who. Blue Meanie said, I heard it, but I don't believe it. So Blue Meanie is a nay vote. And he's closer to the source than anyone. So we have to take it with a grain of salt. If you watch the Justin Wang video that breaks down the rumor, he traces the origins of the rumor to a Honky Tonk Man shoot interview. And you know everything in a Honky Tonk Man shoot interview is accurate. You know that's a guy who's not one for embellishment or telling tales. And he would always write everything down as it happened to get as black and white factual as possible. So Sierra said the whole Mother's Day service is people going up and talking about their mothers and giving gifts. Also, the church passes out gifts to all the mothers. It's a very boring, unnecessary 2 hours for a non-mother. Because your mother and your grandmother want some fucking gifts. They give the church enough money for what? I don't know. Because these churches never seem like they're hurting. These priests always seem to have nice shoes on. The benches are sturdy, yet they want to suck more money out of you. So when the church says, well, we'll give you guys gifts, then take it. Your mother and grandmother are trying to even the playing field here against God. So grant them the space. Messani said, speaking of Ted Knight, he was referenced on Hay, I found out the Columbo alumnus Jack Cassidy was considered for the role of Ted Baxter, but he turned it down. I could see that. I mean, a lot of these roles become what they become because of the person playing them. You go, oh, I can't see anyone but Ted Knight in that role. It's like, yeah, it's because he was in the role. If it was Jack Cassidy, it would have been different, but it would have been fine. Neil said this has to be one of the most unbelievable wrestling conspiracy theories, surely. Are there others that are that crazy? Yes. Drop some of you more learned wrestling fans, drop you the craziest wrestling conspiracy theories you've heard in the chat. I will try to think of some too. My favorite was always that there was a second Ultimate Warrior. That was my favorite. Christine said, will Glendale in May be worse than Arlington in July? Jesus. We just want everyone in AEW to sweat as much as possible because I'm afraid I'm going to burst into flames at All In. There's one thing I know about Texas. It's that they will have air conditioning running. Don said, I always thought of Jimmy Hart as the one who kept impeccable notes. Nope. It was the Honky Tonk Man, his little date book. Nail said, I love all the Columbo talk. Mike said, do you have any Hulk Hogan connections? We need his thoughts on the Rude story. Hulk Hogan never lies. It was actually he who chopped it off of Rick. And it was 800 pounds. Mass Andy said the various deaths and recasts of the Ultimate Warrior. He was, it was like Three's Company. This guy's dead. We got to bring another one in. Mass Andy said Steve DeSalvo and Kerry Von Erich were both rumored to be Ultimate Warriors. And then that poor prick they make dress up as Renegade. I feel like that all blends in. People are like, see, that's the Ultimate Warrior. Wasn't that crazy? He's a good-looking guy. He's a handsome fella. I also heard a ridiculous rumor a while ago that the 1990 Survivor Series, it was almost going to be Sting inside the egg, which made zero sense. I don't even know how that would have worked. It would have been a good idea ever. Neil said, is Shibata's brain surgery classed as a conspiracy? No, it was classed as like lost in translation. It was a major head surgery. But, I mean, the way it was explained in Japanese and then in English and then communicated to everyone was not accurate. It sounds too simple to be real. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not like they just took it out and fucking blew on it and put it back. But it was life-threatening. I think it was as serious of a brain surgery as you can get. James said Renegade was Rick Wilson. Nail said Nail said Kerry Von Erich was so beautiful. Miss Annie said Sting inside the egg as Warrior appears as Black Scorpion. Ellie said, my favorite wrestling conspiracy, which I personally don't believe, is that Giant Machine was secretly Andre the Giant in a mask. Bullshit. Bachelor King said, I just learned that scorpions don't hatch from eggs. And you know what? I don't want to know how they do it. James said, Al Perez would have made the Black Scorpion character. I fucking agree. I'm trying to think of other ones. Well, there was always the higher power thing that I think I debunked with Christopher Daniels, that he was going to be the higher power of the ministry and be the one pulling all the strings. Kevin said, I thought Black Scorpion was Al Perez at first, and we all would have been better off for it. Neil said, how are you feeling about the spider graphics on AEW? Do cartoon spiders bother you? I mean, it's not nice without warning. Luckily, when I'm watching in the back, the monitor I watch on does not have the post graphics, so I missed it completely, which is great. No, except my French teacher from junior high had a sunken divot in her skull where she'd had brain surgery. Good to know. Christine said, I like to cling to the story that Randy Savage beat up Hulk Hogan before WrestleMania 9. I think that's been confirmed as truth. Messi said, with all due respect to Christopher Daniels, who would have cared if he showed up as the higher power? Well, I will say at the time, I mean, from what I knew, it was like he was one of the few indie wrestlers that was known. He was as widely known, I guess, as possible at that time, which is not to say that much. And I also think the fallen angel, the priest, like that all lined up with the ministry vibe. And I think it convinced people that it would make sense, because otherwise it wouldn't make sense. It's a guy. What's behind your toe? Oh, here, let me go. I've lost my place. What's behind your toaster? It is a cookie jar. There's a ceramic woman, and her top comes off. And you would put, there's nothing in it, but you would put. This woman here. And then, does that make sense? Did I answer your question? Is the curiosity subsided? And no feet. Mason said there was a rumor in 1987 that Paul Orndorff had died. Well, I never heard it. Mike said Al Perez was in the mask as Black Scorpion, but the match was, of course, Flair. You couldn't tell. Nell said wet fart behind toaster. It's not happening. James said cared more than seeing Vince as the higher power. Christopher Daniels' career would have elevated. Well, obviously, but it wouldn't have made sense at the time. Mr. Scott said few people played Black Scorpion, Al Perez, Bill Irwin, to name a few. Chronic Snake said, cookies, is this sometime food? Neil said she's holding her boobies. Christine said maybe her dress is just really long to cover her feet. Neil said no feet unless you pay. Cuddly Corey said we should point out things in the background more so he'll go and get it for science. Mike said more of a rumor, and that's, I would say, the biggest one for sure. In terms of wildness, for sure. Candy said, when you said her top comes off, not what I thought. Christine said, you need to put some cookies in there. Nell said, what's the best cookie? I love an oatmeal, especially if you get the Amish to make like the cream cheese frosting and put it in between. It's so good. Chocolate chip cookies are okay. Blue Meanie said Gorilla Monsoon wrote an article in a Philly newspaper and announced that superstar Billy Graham had died, which is unbelievable. Like, I get how these things happen, especially when wrestlers, go off the grid and whatever. But Gorilla Monsoon had connections, of all people, to superstar Billy Graham. So you would think he was a credible source. I do remember hearing that one. That's fantastic. My other favorite was that WrestleMania 7 was originally going to have Tugboat in the Iraqi sympathizer role, and he would be Sheik Tugboat, which I have a hard time wrapping my head around. Maybe they didn't get far enough along in the process to figure that out. Neil said Rob is driving, but he's voting. Oatmeal raisin. Christina Eubanker. Cuddly said, who was the gobbledygooker? Hector Guerrero, was it not? And he was very, very good. Prisma said, what is your go-to dessert? Have you ever baked anything? Not really. My go-to dessert, I mean, I like chocolate. I like dark chocolate. I like ice cream. You can sort of, in the grand scheme of things, you can keep your cakes and your pies. I don't really need them. Miss Annie said, chic tugboat. Bruce Pritchard has discussed this on his podcast. But it all sounds very, I will say this, when you're doing, it's fascinating now working so close in a wrestling company and then hearing how things are reported or come out of news or people say things in podcasts about the past, and then you were there and you remember what happened. You see how things get blown out of proportion and things. I'm not saying that people lie. Certainly people do lie, but even when they're not lying, they're simplifying things, and it's not exactly how it happened. So sometimes there will be a general idea that's thrown out, like a chic tugboat, for example. And they didn't get far enough in the process, and they do everything so last minute that they didn't even get to the naming him stage or figuring out what the gimmick actually is. So I see that they're probably just like last minute shit. Sorry, just yelling at someone. Cuddly Corey said RJ bakes cookies in his underwear, has a ring to it. You know what? Thunder Rose has been doing a lot of cooking in her underwear on her Patreon. I don't pay all this shit. If you want to pay, great, but I don't force you to. I don't know what she's doing over there. I saw some grotesquely graphic shots of sausages. Here we go. Mike said Bruiser Brody cleaning up the drugs in the Von Erichs hotel room. But isn't that in a book? Am I nuts? Ellie said macadamia white chocolate is a close second. All right, that's good. Bachelor King said chic tugboat could use Victor Buono's King Tut costume. We all love. If only tugboat had the gravitas of one Victor Buono. Christine said, I haven't baked in a while, Mia, but I did it more when I had an office job. Would take baked goods in on Fridays. Miss Annie said Hector Guerrero's best gimmick was Lasertron, a very, very good wrestler. I saw a lot of his later WCW work, and he's like older and half speed and still better than everyone. James said Hector Guerrero was the gobbledygooker and was also Lasertron in the NWA. Blue Meanie said, I heard a rumor that Sid was supposed to be in the egg. I can't. Looking at the egg and the way they hyped the egg for weeks, always as an egg, I can't envision anyone else coming out of the egg. It just doesn't make any sense. How would they physically come out of the egg? V said, what's your treat for today, RJ? I don't know. I am going to go to Easily later for a little Mother's Day lunch, dinner. I don't know. I haven't thought. I'm just going to freeball it. Christine said, I'm picturing Sid all pretzeled up in that egg. That's what I mean. And also, to what end? Do you know what I mean? I want to read about Victor Buono again. Christina Nelson, my neighborhood. Nell said, if you were able to have Rick Rude on Hay, would you be brave enough to ask about the amputation? Yeah. Yes. Because I feel like it would easily be dismissed either way. So I'd be in the clear there. I feel like Hay is a good place to come on and clear up rumors about yourself. Ellie said, I think this entire iceberg's dedicated to wrestling conspiracies. Don't forget, I asked the Rock and Roll Express about the glass coffee table. So I think we're in good business. Prisma said, care to expand on the fuck you gave Thunder Rosa about cooking tacos in her underwear online? You stealing my shit. You don't have the care for the art of doing things in your underwear like I do. And you're keeping it from people like it's some sort of prize instead of, an act of defiance and freedom and humanity as it should be. Something to be celebrated. It's not something to gatekeep. Mia said Sydney egg would have been terrifying. Miss Sanity has a wonderful anagram for I'm not going to say either Christine said the most popular office bake was a double chocolate cheesecake. It was always cracked but very tasty. Nell said, I love Tugboat. I was scared of Earthquake and Typhoon. Earthquake was so good. So sometimes I look at pictures of Earthquake and I'm like, he was 18 years old here. He was 22 years old here. And it's just wild. It blows my mind. James said, it was in Ric Flair's book about Bruiser Brody cleaning the drugs with David Van Erickson. I distinctly remember reading it. It was very the last 20 minutes of Goodfellas. Mike said Kevin Sullivan murdering. Yep, that's a crazy one. And also like that people made YouTube videos to like prove that theory. Like you can't just like sometimes you gotta let conspiracy theories just be fucking wild and stupid and crazy and shit. Oh boy, oh Lord, I gotta press it down here. Everything's okay. V said free bullying is generally a good way to go. Nail said if someone else came out of the egg, if someone serious came out of the egg, it would have bombed more than Shockmaster. Exactly. Don said Red Rooster in the egg. That I could have seen. Miss Andy said I've heard a rumor that Hulk Hogan is a credible source. That rumor came from Benjamin Shelton. It's fucking ridiculous. It's at this point remarkable that he continues to stay in the public conscious simply by saying stupid things. Christine said, Italy, we need a location in the north end of the city. There's a few. It's too busy. Harley Cameron is here. You said her fucking name, and she appeared. Flo Hangry with an obscene Crimson donation saying, get your mother some flowers. Well, that's just rude. Neil said, but I don't need you. Wet fart on flower. Neil said, but imagine if it was true. That's how you make it awkward. Now this is about Harley. This is why she was supposed to be gone. Christine said 5 memberships. Blue Meanie, Loopy, Cupcake, KP. You all have memberships, so enjoy them. Miss Annie said Earthquake's Dark Side of the Ring episode was one of the least dark ones. No real controversies. It's a story of a nice guy who spent a lot of time on the road and died young. Those are the saddest ones of all. Because you can't go, this guy was a piece of shit. Everyone was just really not unfair to him specifically, but like, shit, that's an awful way to do business. And he was so good, you get to look back on fucking Golga in the oddities and realize it was him. Mike said, Flair always said David's death was drug-related, not many others to my knowledge. That's a weird thing to put in your book. James said, still laughing out loud at the word of Hulk Hogan trying out to play bass for Metallica. You know, I read it. There's a YouTube video of me reading a passage of his book on my YouTube about the Gremlins. He was in Gremlins 2, and they had all these plans, and he turned down this, and they turned down that. And somebody, I was actually looking this up a while ago, when George Foreman died, you know, Hulk's lie was always that they were going to give the girl to me, but I said no, so they gave it to George, and I make George a fucking, $8 million. And they did an interview with either the management or the lawyer or somebody involved in the grill and whoever invented it. And like, similar to back to what I was saying about like Cheek Tugboat and shit, Hulk was mentioned as like one of 20 names in passing. And the immediate answer was no. And then later on, probably when it got big, his manager said to him, they mentioned you for this. And then he just got it in his warped brain. Neil said, sorry, Archie, we love you. I don't even know what that's referring to. Ellie said, as a Metallica fan, I love that story. Neil said, I feel like Hulk Hogan's lies could be a whole episode of Darkest Hell. My dear friend Gregory Iron, of which our interview is up on his channel, would do his podcast and would do like Hulk Hogan's lie of the week because there were so many of them. Neil said, we need to get rid of the Hulk and Vince emojis. Could we get baby one? So you would rather exploit a child. Nails. That's what I'm hearing here. Or Meanie and Harley ones, or the long requested Hey one. The Hey one would just say what? Hey. I don't know if I don't mind those two awful people being reduced to emojis on my channel. I don't think we're celebrating them, you know? Hogan's Dark Side of the Ring would have to be a 2-part. It'd be a 6-parter. V said immediate no to Hogan is the smartest option. I mean, it is quite remarkable how many failed business ventures he's had. You got your Pasta Mania, you got your Hulk Hogan vitamins. James said Hulk Hogan, Gizmo, and Stripe that don't work for me, brother. I will say Hulk always lucks into a bizarrely talented supporting cast for his movies. Let me look up the Hulk Hogan filmography and show you exactly what I mean. We go to the bottom here. Now let's take. Obviously, he was in Rocky 3. That doesn't count. No Holds Barred. Okay, maybe that doesn't count. But even then, no, these are all just. Wow, Buff Bagwell was an extra in it. Joan Severance, Kurt Fuller. Okay, not that one. Gremlins 2 doesn't really count. Okay, Suburban Commando. Listen to this, the cast of Suburban Commando. Christopher Lloyd, Shelley Duvall, Michael Faustino, Larry Miller, William Ball, Jack Elam, Elizabeth Moss is the little girl. You're not going to get better than that. Next is Mr. Nanny. Listen to this cast. Sherman Hemsley, Austin Pendleton, Raymond O'Connor, Mother Love, who's a comedian, David Johansen. Next, Thunder in Paradise. Oh, well, Thunder in Paradise is direct-to-video. It's not really a movie. Spy Hard doesn't count. Secret Agent Club kind of counts. Richard Mole, Barry Bostwick, James Hahn, Jack Nance from Eraserhead. Santa with Muscles. Don Stark, who was Bob Pinciotti on that 70s show. Robin Curtis, Garrett Morris, Mila Kunis, Clint Howard, Ed Begley Jr., and Brenda Song. Bet you didn't put that in your little trivia next time you go to the bar night or something. Three Ninjas High Noon at Mega Mountain. I don't know if that counts. Where's the cast? There is no cast. That's how good it is. The Ultimate Weapon. What was this movie? Oh boy, I have never heard of this one. All right, he's got some shitty movies under his belt too. That's fine. Muppets from Space, and of course Romeo and Juliet. He did 2 episodes of Suddenly Susan, which I talked about in the Hollywood Squared Circle. But I will say, Christopher Lloyd and Shelley Duvall is insane. Let me go back to what I'm talking about here. Christine suggested the on-air sign as an emoji. Nail said, Gregory Iron, best death match ever. Google it, folks. Mike said, you need to put that hey sign out of its misery. That thing is in rough shape. That's the second one. We got a new one when the AEW logo changed slightly. They're like, we need a fresh one. I'm like, that's not what the show is. Miss Annie said, there's a rumor of RJ getting an all-elite graphic. I can confirm that there's not. Nail said, did you just call Meanie awful? What? He has Danhausen levels of protection here. I think it's so exploitative. The man is in the chat. He's participating in the chat, and you want to reduce him to a cartoon character. I think it's disgusting. James said Hulk was in the A-Team series. He was only in 1 episode. I think Big John Studd is in it, too. Prisma said, what color is your suit for Double or Nothing? I hope it's periwinkle. I think that would suit you. It's the desert. So I'm going green. Harley said, wet fart unfridge. Harley already donated her money. That goes to my mother's flowers. And you do not get the wet fart on the fridge. Chronic Snake said, wasn't Taker in that one with the funny voice? Yes, you're thinking of. So that's Suburban Commando, I think? Yes. That was before he was signed. V said, Three Ninjas was the only Hogan movie I remember watching on purpose. Nail said, I'm in the car. I jumped slightly. Did he notice Christine's gifts? What are we talking about? Miss Annie said, Austin Pendleton was great in the Muppet movie and also in My Cousin Vinny. And what else was he in? Wasn't he in? I'm going to look up them. Just a good, theater, a lot of Broadway. He was in What's Up, Doc. Muppet movie was 79. Short Circuit. My Cousin Vinny, Rain Without Thunder. Searching for Bobby Fischer. That's what I remember him from. Greedy with Phil Hartman. Sergeant Bilko. Sue Lost in Manhattan. Who the fuck is this? Joe the King, Fourth Floor. The Acting Class, Fast with Women. A Beautiful Mind. Finding Nemo. Wall Street, Monday Never Sleeps. The Black Box. The Men, Finding Dory. So he did all those. Good for him. He's making a little money. And he did 2 episodes of Love American Style. Last fart on fridge. Easy E said Hulk Hogan Ultimate Grill mobile game, PlayStation Connect game, Hulk Hogan Celebrity Championship Wrestling, this freestyle wrestling thing with Bischoff. He's doing good. Elite said Ed Begley Jr. just takes every role, apparently. Well, he's supposed to be self-conscious about the environment. It doesn't sound like it. Christine asked me in a wonderful Golden Rag tribute how many dogs Harley has, and then Harley answered that she has 2. So could have really bypassed that whole thing there, Christine. Miss Andy said Hulk Hogan claims responsibility for Undertaker signing with WWE. Of course he does. Ellie said, I have a theory about Hulkster in Heaven song off of Hogan's 1995 album may have a darker backstory. Fucking hit me with it. I'm ready. Harley has a request, and I don't want to do it. It says wet fart on fridge and celebration. Let's move on. Mike said the stuttering opening statement is such a great scene. Are we talking about Don Knotts? Attaboy, Luther. Michelle Von Kell said RJ and Meanie for the next Muppet movie. It needs to happen. These Muppets aren't my Muppets. Mia said Harley's a national treasure. Nell said, speaking of Muppets, are they making the mini Monets? I don't know. I'm not involved in the merch department. I would hope so. I would assume some sort of puppet is being made at some juncture. Prisman said, what a celebration that was. We had a great time. Christine said, I got to say, if RJ wasn't so good at making that sound, he might not be in this predicament. I make it just like if I'm reading or walking around the mall, I just go, it's fun for my mouth to do. Nell said, straight back to Don Knotts. Mia said, can we get an RJ puppet? We cannot. But I will tell you, we almost had a Gildor puppet as a way to get around them not wanting to pay me union prices. I don't personally believe it, said Ellie, but apparently the theory goes that it may have been inspired by a kid who was murdered. I'll look this shit up. The video's unavailable. Okay, so what I'm understanding is that Hulk Hogan had this album, and here we go. Oh, fuck you. New York Times, I gotta pay for it. Here we go. Okay, so maybe this is true. Poor 2-year-old James Bulger was tragically abducted and murdered by 2 10-year-old boys in 1993. Britain was mournful and outraged. Hulk Hogan, however, was feeling musical. After reading about the boy's senseless murder on a trip to England, Hogan was inspired to write a tune for the deceased boy. If they're already dead, it's not really for them. At least this was his story when he released his first and mercifully only album in 1995. The album, Certified Wood, contained a song entitled Another Hulkamaniac in Heaven, which Hulk Hogan claimed he penned after reading about Bulger. Where did he claim this? It's hard to imagine a toddler was that interested in Hulkamania. But that didn't stop Hogan, who said his content with the song inspired him to write more songs, including the classic Beach Patrol. So this is the first song he wrote about the dead kid, and then said, what if we do other songs not about death? Hogan's dedication to Bulger may have sounded trite and disingenuous, but it was at least feasible. Thankfully, the Hulkster's 2002 biography would clarify the origins of the song. Omitting Bulger and its previous origin story, Hulk instead penned a new version, claiming the song was actually written for a gravely ill fan he met while performing at Wembley Stadium in 1992, a year before Bulger's death, which, for the record, I want to say, Hulk Hogan has never ever performed at Wembley Stadium, period, let alone then. And this is the next line. It goes on to say, he claimed that he wrestled at SummerSlam 1992. I mean, he didn't. And he said that's where he met the gravely ill fan, who he ensured sat in the front row of the Colossal Stadium. He could see him headline the night in London. Hogan was clearly moved. Only slight inconsistency was that Hulk didn't headline SummerSlam 92. He wasn't wrestling at all at SummerSlam, nor was he ever advertised. In fact, he wasn't even working with WWE at all in December of 92 and was on an extended forcible leave of absence due to his involvement in the steroid scandal. To this day, Hulk Hogan has still never wrestled at Wembley Stadium. That's why we still use his emoji. Manny said, as per your suggestion and Ask RJ, I did watch the Joe Alasky video, wonderful voiceover artist and stand-up comedian. He did a video of Don Knotts. His bit was Don Knotts doing the Gettysburg Address. And he also did Shatner as Hamlet, I think. Candy said a Hey W with a mini Monet and mini RJ puppet. Ridiculous. That'll happen before the real one happens. Prisma said, hey RJ, what that mouth do? Wet fart noises. Nell said Harley with a mini puppet doing Puppet Hey W with real RJ as a guest. James said Hulk Hogan album, the songs in Japan that Terry Funk and Abdullah Butcher and Sweet Daddy Siki for that matter all have and Randy Savage have much better wrestling musical albums. None of them are good, but V said yes, Hogan's known for stunning empathy. Easy E said we all know Jimmy wrote that thing. Hulk, baby, this kid's dead. Nail said, I'm furious. I never hated Hulk Hogan more. Keep James's names out of your mouth, you bald prick. Nails is British and angry. I have to go early, said Nails. I reached where I was going. Love you all. Speak soon. Nails is so angry that she got out of the car and shut off the stream. Messani said, National Enquirer once posted a story about Jennifer Aniston having an affair with Rey Mysterio Jr. I buy it. Nell said, let me know what the group said when I missed, please. Miss Annie said Hogan was actually Rocco the Puppet at SummerSlam 92. Christine said, do you have the Joel Askey book? I didn't even know there was one. Easy E said, Gilbert Godfrey doing the Gettysburg Address, please. I can't do a good one. A good Gilbert. Ellie said, I mean, Harley is a good ventriloquist. I don't see what that has to do with anything. I want to see where. I mean, it does line up. I don't see where Hulk claimed that he wrote this song for this kid. Some of the sales proceeds from the album went to the family, if I recall correctly. It is fucking fantastic. It's just like astonishing. I mean, you just type in Hulk Hogan lives and it's just everywhere. It's great. You can't lose. Yeah. Here we go. Here's the Metallica one. Lars Ulrich wanted him to join Metallica as their new bass player, and at one point he almost joined the Rolling Stones. And then there's the George Foreman grill. One day he heard the phone ringing, but didn't get across the room to pick it up in time. So rather than going through his agent or calling back later, the grill people immediately called George Foreman instead, because that's how stuff works. The reason mainstream movie success eluded him is that in his early 20s, Hulk Hogan was blackballed from Hollywood after rebuffing the advances of a gay movie producer. Not that his movies weren't successful, of course, as the likes of Santa with Muscles and Mr. Nanny all made 30 to 40 million, with each of their scripts being rewritten by him because they weren't any good. Although due to Writers Guild rules, he was robbed of his credit. He also turned down the Little John role in Robin Hood Men in Tights. That I could see. And the lead role in the crime thriller opposite Pamela Anderson, who is to be his love interest. The biggest should have go to the Oscar-nominated film The Wrestler. 3 times Hulk was sent the script by director Darren Aronofsky, begging him to take the role. 3 times he said no. Randy the Ram was entirely based on Hogan, as you can tell with his blonde hair, usage of the word brother, and that deleted scene where he rubs suntan lotion between the cracks of his daughter's ass. Jesus. It was wonderful. It was all wonderful and beautiful, ultimately. Elite Eazy-E said Hogan definitely lied about the proceeds. 100%. Ellie said I was referring to. I'm back and I've reconnected. I don't know what happened there. I guess that was a YouTube thing because my internet's been fine, and then I was able to reconnect, which is rare. I got totally kicked off, and then you hit refresh and you can reconnect. Thank God. Candy said I had no idea there were so many lies out there. There's way more. Prisma said, hope you have a lovely meal with your mom, Archie. Have a great day. James said Roddy Piper after his death. Like, how famous do you have to be to like not be that insecure to lie about shit? Like, he was like, you did it. All the shit you did was no one's been able to top it. Just let that happen. Sorry. Nomik said momentarily silent. Thank goodness he's back. We're back just in time to end. Mia said, have a great week, everyone. V said reconnected with 1 minute to spare. That's the shit you won't be getting from Thunder Rosa. Miss Andy said Hogan isn't lying because he believes what he's saying. And then it's totally true. So the important thing is anything can be anything, and believe in what you're saying no matter how big the lie is. James said Godspeed and God bless. Christine says the Costanza rule. That's very true. So generally speaking, that is the show today. Hey W with Kevin Knight. Go watch, go like, go comment, go share. Comment on the thing. Tell everyone you like it. Pull clips and gifs from it. Post it everywhere, including Greg Valentine, but don't tell him. Happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there and mothers to be and daughters or whatever. I don't know how that works. Let's get a final look at these, shall we? Yeah, you get the gist. You got that wonderful thing in the background. Yes, I have socks on. It's fucking cold. And I have these toe separators on, and the socks keep them in my feet. I don't need your fucking judgment. Clearly, I have my own, so I don't need it. I don't know where the fuck you get off doing that. Okay? Hey, go watch, go like, go comment, go share. Spread the word. Tell Kevin Knight he did a good job despite my best efforts. And in the meantime, Godspeed.